Digital Team IMA. I'm Dr. K.K. Agarwal, its Honorary Secretary General. Welcome to our weekly show, every Thursday 3 p.m. webcast in association with our digital partner Librate and webcast partner eMultiNexus. Today we are going to discuss a subject which is very important, that is chronic kidney disease. It will be in two parts. In the first part, I have with me my moderator, Dr. V.K. Monga, Dean IMA CGP, and our other two experts, Dr. Ajay Likhi, President Delhi Medical Association, and Dr. Ramesh Datta, who is a Joint Secretary at IMA headquarters and is also a pediatrician. In the second part, Dr. Monga will be interacting with Dr. R.P. Mathur from ILBS, who is a former at the faculty from All India Institute of Medical Sciences and who is a nephrologist. The topic we have chosen, CKD, is because now CKD is becoming like a CAD equivalent. CKD now is increasing in the country. Large number of people are needing dialysis or they are needing a renal transplant. It is as rampant as a stroke, it is as rampant as a heart disease, and the risk factors are the same. If I want to talk about prevention of kidney disease, if I do a general prevention measures, I will be able to prevent kidney disease, heart disease, stroke, osteoporosis, obesity and diabetes together. And if I have to take care of CKD, I need to take care of only two things. One is diabetes, second is hypertension. If I can control diabetes and hypertension, therefore remember the ABC of kidney prevention are same as ABC of heart disease prevention or diabetic prevention. A for A1C, keep it lower than 6.5%. D for blood pressure, keep it lower than 120/80, and C for LDL cholesterol, keep it lower than 80, lower the better. And if you do that, a large number of kidney diseases can be prevented. Over to you, Dr. Mugan.
Thank you, KK. In this first part, I'll ask these friends a question. First question for, because most of the GPs are looking at this, is you are a very senior cardiologist and physician in South Delhi. How often you come across patients of CKD in your practice?
See, I'm basically, my 70 to 80% of my practice is cardiology.
Yeah.
And in cardiology, every patient is at risk.
Okay.
Metabolic syndrome, which is defined as abdominal circumference, if there is increased abdominal circumference more than 90 centimeter in men, more than 80 centimeter in women. If the HDL is low, lower than 40, and if the triglyceride levels are more than 125, if the blood pressure is more than 140/90, or if the fasting sugar is more than 190, in such situation there is a metabolic syndrome. And one of the marker of metabolic syndrome is high uric acid. And high uric acid is a marker of underlying kidney damage, endothelial dysfunction.
Sure.
And that endothelial dysfunction will end up into microalbuminuria and later on macroalbuminuria. So therefore, cardiology and nephrology are totally now linked to each other because both of them are endothelial dysfunction.
How about Dr. Datta, in your practice, in pediatrics, how often you see this type of patients?
No, in pediatric age group, you know, there is a 1 in 1,000, or you can say 1 in 1,500. We come across such patients. You know, I have even seen 1.5-year-old child developed diabetes. The childhood diabetes or juvenile diabetes. He has developed. Parents came, the child is losing weight, he is passing a lot of urine, his intake is all right, but he is then when we, his cases were investigated, such cases, so we came out with the child was having juvenile diabetes.
So in a child, any kidney disease,
Yeah.
in absence of nephrotic syndrome,
Yes.
or in absence of acute glomerulonephritis, you need to look for a congenital defect in the kidney. Somewhere there is a hydronephrosis, somewhere there is a pelvic ureter junction abnormalities. So they are surgically correctable causes. So never ignore any kidney disease in a child.
That's right.
But when it comes to CKD, we need to understand the definition of CKD. And here comes in a step.
Sure.
And that, first of all, everybody should know how to calculate eGFR. eGFR is estimated GFR. It is not E like electronic. It is eGFR is estimated GFR. 140 minus age multiplied by weight in kg divided by 72 into serum creatinine.
Okay.
And in females multiplied with 85%. So in male, so let's see, a 40-year-old male, a 40-year-old male with 40 kg weight with a serum creatinine of 1. Normally you would say serum creatinine of 1 is normal.
Yeah.
This is how you will say.
That's right.
You say serum creatinine 1, normal. But you don't ask him what is your age.
Yes.
And you don't ask him what is your weight.
Weight.
Now 140 minus age 40 is 100. Multiplied by weight 40, 4000. Divided by 72 into 1. eGFR will be less than 60.
60.
That means he is having a moderate CKD. But when we look at only as the creatinine, we will say this is normal.
That's what most of us do. In our
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if his creatinine is 1.2, 1.3, it will be further low. So without calculating eGFR, you will be missing most of the CKD. Never look at urea, never look at creatinine. You have to calculate the estimated GFR, that is eGFR. And if the eGFR is more than 60, more than 90 is normal. If it is 60 to 90, this is called as GP's kidney disease. If it is between 30 and 60, it is physician's kidney disease. If it is less than 30, then DM needs to take over. If it is less than 15, you need to talk about dialysis, you need to talk about transplant. So less than 30, a nephrologist has to be in picture. Between 30 and 60, MD medicine has to be in picture. And more than 60, the GP can handle. And it's a large number. So largest number of people can be handled by a GP.
Correct.
And there they are ignoring. They are not even knowing that their patient has a mild chronic kidney disease. Chronic means more than 3 months. If your eGFR is less than 60 for more than 3 months, in absence of any acute reversible factor, or you have albuminuria of more than 30 milligram. So if you have a proteinuria, okay, or if you have a eGFR less than 60, lasting more than 3 months, you say this is a CKD. So therefore, because it is less than 60, so every case of CKD, GP must refer it to a physician for a single evaluation and then follow it up. And his aim should be to keep the eGFR more than 60, so that he can keep the patient to himself. Never allow a eGFR to get less than 30, but always look for reversible causes. Nephrotoxic drugs, painkillers, then people like gentamicin group of drugs, then acute infection, acute dehydration, blood loss. All these can cause acute temporary precipitation of kidney failure, and which is reversible. So dies, you're going for a contrast and contrast nephropathy, they will be reversible. Any vomiting, any diarrhea, they will be reversible.
Dehydration.
So look for a reversible cause of a renal involvement in every case. And here, two things I want to say. Where do we make a mistake? The first mistake we do is, how much was the creatinine? He says 0.6. And then later on, tomorrow he says creatinine is 1. And he says 1 is normal, because that's what written in the file.
Even now normal. Yes.
Even now it is normal, but there is a rise of 0.4. Any rise of 0.3 is a medical emergency.
Alarm.
It's a medical emergency. You need to take care. Any rise in 0.3.
Yes.
So even if it is within the normal range, from 0.6 it becomes 0.9, it becomes important. And the second mistake we do is, when we give drugs which are nephrotoxic drugs do not cause glomerular damage. They cause damage to the tubule. Glomerular damage will present with RBC and protein. A tubular damage will present with non-reabsorption of the urine. Therefore, they will present with polyuria.
Okay.
You are giving a drug and patient says, I am getting more urine. You say, you start antibiotic, that he has developed infection. So instead of reducing antibiotic, you start increasing the antibiotic. You don't take away the offending agent. So remember, nephrotoxic drugs and obstructive uropathy will always present with polyuria. So if the patient's creatinine is rising and the urine is also rising, that's a catch. And most of the time we wait till anuria develops. the reversible phase we miss. In that reversible phase of polyuria, your funding agent, if you take it away, it is reversible. But we wait because we say urine to ज़्यादा आ रहा है. We want urine to become less. When the urine has become less, acute kidney injury has happened. That is the basic catch point where most of the mistakes comes, and that's the difference between a good physician and a not a good physician, average physician. I won't say bad physician, an average physician, because most of the physicians will still make a mistake like that.
I think that's a major point. I mean, you have talked about. Number one is polyuria, if it at all it is there, and creatinine and urea are compromised. It's okay, we still believe it's okay because he is passing good amount of urine, so there is no question of kidney damage. But I think it is a different situation.
Two more things. That every physician must do urine albumin and urine microalbumin, and he must do urea creatinine ratio. Okay, I'm going to end with this, and after that, let Lekhi give his comments, and then we have our next secretary. One is urea creatinine ratio, which should be 20:1. Urea 60, creatinine 1. Ratio is 6:1. Should I be 20:1? Pre-renal azotemia. That means there is either a GI bleed or a dehydration somewhere, or the patient is carb hydrated. That means he is not eating enough food. If the urea is 30 and the creatinine is 10, reverse. Urea is low, creatinine is high. The condition is, the basic condition is obstructive uropathy. It can also happen in post dialysis, and it can happen in some rare kidney disorders like purpura purpura. But most of the time you find a ratio of urea 80, creatinine 4, which is the renal, which is what you want. So don't get upset. If you find a urea is also high, creatinine is also high, then that is an established renal disease. Second, the most important thing is we must do a urine albumin. In urine albumin, the best method is 10% sulfosalicylic acid. Costs you less than 1 rupee. Put it into the urine. If the urine doesn't become white, all proteins are ruled out, including Ben Jones protein. But if you find it becomes white, then you go back and do the urine albumin test. If urine albumin is positive, it's 1 rupee test. Don't send it for microalbumin.
Yeah.
Microalbumin means urine in micro amounts. When it is present in macro amount,
no need for
microalbumin.
In fact, if you must go for 24-hour urine.
Yes, if your albumin is positive, go for 24-hour urinary albumin to find out the status. But if urine albumin is negative, then you go for microalbumin, because at a microalbumin level, incipient nephropathy, by giving ACE inhibitors, you can reverse nephropathy. Once the nephropathy establishes as macronephropathy, it may not be reversible. But at the level of albuminuria, you should be able to control the nephropathy, development of nephropathy. And the second important thing, the mistake we do, then when we start is the ACE inhibitor. Suppose I want to start Ralipril. I'll start with 2.5 milligram. No, maximum tolerable dose.
Okay.
Maximum tolerable dose of ACE inhibitor.
Even if the BP is okay.
Even if the BP is normal. Even if the baseline BP is normal. ACE inhibitor in high BP will make it normal, and in normal BP it will not cause less than 10 millimeter of mercury fall. So maximum tolerable dose of Ramipril or Enalapril or Lisinopril has to be given for kidney prevention. We do a mistake giving 2.5 milligram. We give a prasad. So if you want a reversal, remember, reversal of, and along with that, to take care of endothelial dysfunction, we also give a maximum tolerable dose of a statin. So if you want to reverse incipient nephropathy, I must make sure diastolic blood pressure is less than 80. I must make sure that the fasting sugar remains less than 80. And I must give him 80 milligram of atorvastatin. Along with that, I must give him the maximum milligram of that particular ACE inhibitor. Then only I will be able to reverse. Otherwise, reversal will not work. Reversal of endothelial dysfunction requires maximum tolerable dose of both atorvastatin and ramipril, not that you just give either ramipril or ramipril.
Okay, that's good.
Nowadays we are seeing that CKD is increasing. How much you feel that lifestyle is the partner of CKD increase?
Totally, because metabolic syndrome. See, in metabolic syndrome, you have insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia. And hyperinsulinemia is a risk factor for endothelial dysfunction. And endothelial dysfunction, whenever it occurs, the nephropathy and retinopathy. If there is no nephropathy, there is no retinopathy. There is no retinopathy, there is no nephropathy, because they are both of them are related to endothelial dysfunction. And cardiac atherosclerosis is also endothelial dysfunction. They all are related to each other, and lifestyle is totally. Kidney disease, therefore we say, you prevent heart disease, kidney disease will be prevented automatically. Or you prevent kidney disease, heart disease will be prevented automatically. Don't work on HIV, work on hepatitis B, HIV will be taken care of. Don't work on Zika virus, only work on dengue. Take care of dengue, Zika will be taken care of. Similarly in CKD, take care of the heart, kidney will be taken care of. There is nothing more you have to do in the kidney.
Last question, Dr. KK. How much this junk food is
See,
creator
junk-
of CKD in
So
children?
there are two types of food. One is the junk food and one is the fast food. Fast food is the best food to have. There is nothing like a fast food. Fast food means ready-made food. Take an apple, eat it. Take a curd, eat it. Take a banana, peel it and eat it. Take dry fruits and eat them. Take a gajar, wash it, eat it. That is the fast food. But artificial fast food, which is called as junk food, which is unnatural fast food, is bad for the heart for two reasons. A, junk food has refined carb. Junk food is always made of chini, chawal, maida, white rice, white maida or a white sugar. And then it has an animal fat, specifically trans fat. Saturated fats will increase LDL, but trans fat will increase LDL and reduce HDL. So therefore any combination of an animal fat, specifically high saturated and specifically high trans fat with refined carb is going to end up into endothelial dysfunction and insulin resistance. It is going to end up in CKD, stroke, heart disease, obesity, diabetes altogether. So therefore, the best food to eat is fast food, as long as you understand what does fast food means.
Last is what you are saying it in Indian culture. The birth, we are saying it Karwa Chauth and all people are doing Vrat fast, they are doing it. So is a factor
See, our
in this?
mythology knew. There is a mention in our Vedic sciences, a condition called Anna Dosh. It's written in our Vedic books. Anna Dosh means if you're going to eat carbohydrate every day, you're going to end up into Anna Dosh. And one of the Anna Dosh disorders is metabolic syndrome, obesity, diabetes and everything. Now if you see, our Rishi Muni knew this and they gave it as a formula that once in a week do not eat Anna. It's not fast. They never said fast. Fast doesn't mean starvation. It is a cereal fast.
Cereal fast.
So therefore, once in a week you do not take cereals.
Cereals.
One day extra in a month on Ekadashi, don't take cereals, specifically rice. Ekadashi mein rice nahi khate. And then twice in a year or 9 days each, continuously don't eat cereals. And if you follow that, metabolic syndrome will not come. You will never end up into heart disease. And that's the reason. We have good people like Ram and bad people like Ravan. We have good people like Krishna and bad people like Kans. All four of them, none of them had metabolic syndrome or diabetes or heart disease.
Yeah.
Good people and bad people, they all followed the Vrat system. The bad people also at that time, they were ritualistic, they were pandits, they used to follow the concept because they knew that if they are not going to follow that, they are going to end up into a heart attack. The only person where is mention of heart attack in the whole mythology is Raja Dashrath, but he died of stress-induced cardiac arrhythmia, not a heart attack. It was most likely a type of a stress cardiomyopathy, which ended up into a VTPF and he died suddenly. It was not an acute heart attack.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. KK, what is your opinion that this fast food, after taking fast food, the children are also developing chronic kidney disease? But till
See,
date,
when you
we-
eat a
we
junk
are not-
food, when you're
yes.
going to eat a junk food, you're going to end up into diabetes,
Yes.
high blood pressure because it has a lot of salt, and you're going to develop insulin resistance and obesity, and that is linked
Within-
all types of chronic
Otherwise,
lifestyle
till
diseases.
date, there was hardly any case of a chronic except this.
But now we are seeing.
Yes,
Now we are.
congenital
If I have
malformations.
to,
Otherwise, it was.
if I have to define 18
Only
as the
juvenile
age of,
diabetics
if
were
I have to
there.
define 18 as the age of a child as per the Child Sexual Abuse
Yeah, yeah.
Act, then
Yes.
we are seeing a lot of cases of
Lot of cases.
childhood CKD.
Yes, it is because of this
CKD, but
junk food.
up to the age of 12 years, like is hardly seen.
So that's all. Let's have now Dr. Monga interacting with Dr. R.P. Mathur from ILBS on other aspects of CKD. And I will be back next week with Dr. Monga with some other faculty after that. Till that, goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.